Hi, I'm Milton Rendell and welcome to Real News Friday. Well, so much for all my predictions last week. The old government turned around and changed all the rules overnight. So anyway, an interesting one, and I think that'll continue to evolve in the coming weeks. I think there's a fair bit of pressure back to the state to keep current with the rest of the country, but I won't enter into that discussion for today. In terms of sales, 997 sales in the last week. That's up on the previous couple of weeks by about 10%. Our stock levels are 8,256. That's up 1% on what was a week ago, 3% down on what a month ago, and 1% down on a year ago. So that seems to be the figure we seem to sit around that 8,200 mark. So I think if we look at that as probably our measure going forward, between 8 and 8,500, I think that's probably will be a fair indication of where the market is at any given one point. Now, in terms of rentals, 825 properties rented last week. That was up 10%, as you'd expect coming out of the Christmas and New Year. Our stock levels are 2,350. Obviously, there's been a few vacates during that, so there's probably a transition in between, showing there's up 26% for the month, but I think we'll see a flattening coming into the next 2 to 3 months, but we're still down 18% on the same time a year ago as far as vacant property is concerned. So I think the rental market's just going to take that extra couple of weeks to settle down, and we'll see where we go from there. Interesting, just reading some statistics, a lot of growth has been recorded in equity in the up north, particularly in the mining areas, with Port Hedland showing a growth of 47% in the last 12 months. I'm spewing, probably like a few other people. I tried to buy some properties in Port Hedland about 18 months ago and I missed out, so damn. But anyway, hindsight's a beautiful thing. Look, overall the market continues to push along, and I still think we will see the continuance of where we are. Stock levels is going to be the big determiner of everything. Building industry, we are hearing mixed reports of what's happening for the builders in terms of supply, and by supply I mean supply of materials. This the blocking of what's being supplied, or I think we'll be talking about a lot about supply going forward, particularly in 2022, probably in the first 6 months until we have this COVID situation more balanced within Australia. I'm hearing a lot of different people from microchips to timber just not being available to be able to complete different things. So 2022 we may see a little bit of an imbalance in terms of what's going on in the economy, but again, there's lots of talk about that. Now, if you're into shares, probably a week ago you were slapping each other's back and telling each other how wonderful it is. We have seen quite a dip in the stock market, particularly in the last 3 to 4 days. They say that's a correction. Quite often a correction after stimulates real estate. So if that re-stimulates real estate, and we have seen investors returning to the market, it may affect our supply. If the builders don't complete the houses or the developments they're talking about, it's going to affect supply. So we certainly, at this stage, I'd say we'll be rolling well into 2023 in this type of market we have. We'll probably see some more appreciation in prices in the more popular areas, and a catch up in some of the areas that have been sort of quite quiet over the previous couple of years. Now, interesting, sometimes you have to stop and reflect. Today, 2 years ago, I was laying in hospital having a heart operation. So I was just reflecting on that and what the changes I've seen in the market between that day, the 28th of January, to today. You would never have predicted what's happened. I woke up the day after the operation. When I got out of hospital, COVID decides to put its ugly head into our lives, and the rest is history. It has been a very, very long 2 years. For me, fortunately, it's been a good 2 years in the fact that I'm alive. But overall, if you sort of take that snapshot of the last 2 years, we have seen so much change within our economy and the way we live, and I think that'll obviously continue. Hopefully, the second half of this year we'll see it steadying down, but just interesting to reflect on the last 2 years. Anyway, all the best, and check out realestateplus.com.au.